Hello, welcome to a new episode of Geek Lunch Me. I'm your host Chris. As usual, it's a great time to be a Kaiju fan. At the moment, we had Godzilla -1, absolutely awesome film, and just recently won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects, the first ever Godzilla film to win an Academy Award. And Godzilla Kong, The New Empire, is currently the #1 movie in the world and looks set to be another box office smash. So I thought, what better time to take a quick look at my Godzilla toy collection, and also a good excuse to get it all down so I could give it all a dust off. As anyone with a large collection of anything knows, that dust is the bane of all collectors worldwide. And don't forget, if you like the video, please hit the thumbs up. Helps us out a great deal, helps the video get seen by a lot more people. And if you're not already subscribed, why not smash that subscribe button? We'd love to have you as a subscriber here at the channel. So my Godzilla toys, it's not the largest collection in the world, but there's some nice pieces, some bits that I've customised myself, and there's a selection of Japanese toys and stuff that's been released here in the West as well. There's also a few little bits of Gamera and Ultraman thrown in for good measure as well. So without any further ado, let's get stuck in to the king of the monsters. Okay, so let's just randomly start off with this plush Godzilla in the corner and then work our way across. And I've got a couple of plush Godzillas. I don't buy a lot of plush toys. But I'm guessing I probably got these cheap. You'll probably find there's a lot of stuff in my collection that is probably stuff sometimes that I wouldn't normally buy, but I've probably got it cheap in a sale somewhere. But he's a pretty cool looking plush, and he's quite large as well. Then you come down to this inflatable Godzilla, which I absolutely love. It is from, I believe it's from White Castle, the hamburger chain in the States. And was a giveaway. It's got a Toho copyright of 1990, so considering he's sort of 34 years old, he actually stands up really well. The rubber hasn't perished or anything, and I blew him up quite a while ago, and he's, as you can see, he's still sort of standing tall. He's not losing air or anything. So he's a pretty cool addition to the collection. If we make our way down, that's Shin Ultraman. It's quite a new figure from the last couple of years. Then, however, another little plush Godzilla, just a sort of tinier version of the other one. And then this fella, which I always assumed was a bootleg, but he's actually got a 1983 Toho copyright on him. So apparently he is official. He's just a bit ropey looking. Then this winged beastie is Gauss from Gamera. I think I picked that up when I was in Hong Kong. I think it was one where it was like a little kit that you put, just snapped him together. And then we've got a little wind-up walking Godzilla. That is not official, but I love wind-up toys. And he's very similar to, I've got a whole bunch of Star Wars bootlegs of exactly the same sort of figure, and an Aliens one as well, I think. Next to him, you can see the very unofficial Godzilla with a big lighter shoved up his butt. I think I picked that up in a market or something somewhere. It's obviously just a cheap knockoff. But I am a sucker for things like that. Then this is from Godzilla Final Wars. They released these, I suppose they were like blind box assortments that you get now. You didn't know what was inside these little capsules when you open them. And I've got, as you can see, you've got Space Godzilla, Anguirus, Mecha Godzilla, Mogura or Mugura, however you want to pronounce it, and Godzilla himself. These guys you might have seen before if you've watched my unboxing video of the Funko Godzilla board game. These figures come unpainted. I painted these up. They're nice, fun little figures to paint. If you've not already seen the video, you can check that out. There's a whole bunch of Godzilla videos in our watch list on the channel. Then moving our way up, this is Manila or Minya, depending on the translation that you watch. He's got a sort of bad rep amongst Godzilla fans, obviously being a bit childish, but that's what the old school Godzilla films were like, a lot of them, the Showa era in particular. I think this is then the Trendmasters release, another wind-up of King Ghidorah. And directly behind him, you've got Godzilla Earth, or Planet Godzilla. This was a cheap bootleg figure, again, which I repainted, and there's a video in the Godzilla watch list of that as well, if you want to check that out. Next one, we've got one of the NECA figures of Shin Godzilla. I don't have a lot of the NECA figures. I know they make a lot of Godzillas. They all sort of tend to be much of a muchness. They just sort of do Godzilla. They don't really do any of the villains or anyone like that, which is a shame. I do like the design of Shin Godzilla. He's one of my favourites. The film, I'm sort of I blow hot and cold on it. It is a well-made film, and sort of the Godzilla effects look really cool. He does some cool stuff. But the actual film, I know it's a satire, but it's not a very funny satire, and there's a lot of people sitting around in boardrooms having meetings. I'd rather there was some more Godzilla action going on. Next to him, we have got a little plush Godzilla, which is from the Hanna-Barbera cartoon. I think it's copyrighted, I think it's 78 or 79. So yeah, right at the tail end of the 70s, a series you might remember. Well, I watched it as a kid, featuring little Godzuki as well. Again, often gets ripped into because he's sort of very similar to Minya. Then behind him, we have got another one of my repaints. I didn't actually do a video on this one. This is the Jakks Pacific Mecha Godzilla from Godzilla vs Kong. I didn't actually do a video on this. It was quite an easy repaint. I literally just used black craft paint to go all over him with, and then I had a leftover sort of pewter spray paint that my wife had been using on some craft project. So I sort of hit him with all that from above, like a sort of zenithal highlight. And then I had a chrome spray that I did as well. And I just used some sort of very watery ink washes and sort of browns and blacks and just daubed them all over to give him a sort of rusty effect. He come up pretty well. Then next to him, we have got the Jakks Pacific legendary Godzilla. There is a video you can see where I repainted this one as well. He's a nice big figure. You can get him dirt cheap on eBay. And he does paint up really nicely. Then coming down, this sort of little, is it like a chibi deformed Godzilla? He's actually a money bank. He's got a slot in the back. You can pick these up still really cheap on eBay. And one of my favourites, old school Mechagodzilla. I picked this up when I was on holiday in Hong Kong. He's fully articulated. I say he's die-cast. He's very heavy. I was glad to have picked him up really, dare I say, dirt cheap in Hong Kong. He's probably one of the more expensive Godzilla bits in my collection if you had to try and pick him up on eBay today. Next to him is one of the larger sized of the Funko Pops. I don't buy a lot of Pops. That's just like another slippery slope of something else to collect. But I do pick up a few, and again, I think I got this one cheap on eBay. And I like the fact that he's larger than the sort of normal Pops. And then we've got, I think this is the only item I've got from the Godzilla, the American 1998 movie. From TriStar. This again was something else I picked up in Hong Kong. It's like a little figure sitting on a little plinth. And then a couple of bobblehead figures of Rodan and King Ghidorah. I don't actually recall where I got them from at all. I'm guessing they must have been cheap in some comic book store, so I decided to pick them up. Then we come across, again, this little sort of super deformed Godzilla. I think, again, is a money bank. He's got a slot in the top, a lot smaller than the money bank that's behind him. Obviously for people with less cash to save. And in here, we've got Orga from Godzilla 2000. This is one of the sort of standard Bandai figures. There used to be a website called Funkyzilla here in the UK, and they did all of the Bandai figures, and you could get them really cheap, a lot cheaper than sort of you can get them on the internet or from eBay these days. So quite a lot of the Bandai stuff in my collection comes from that site, which unfortunately has sort of been defunct quite a few years ago. But Orga from Godzilla 2000. But yeah, there's Orga who Godzilla fights at the end of Godzilla 2000. And then going up behind again, this was a fantastic purchase in Hong Kong. Obviously it's Destroyer. I think it was sort of like a model kit. The inside framework you had to put together, and then it's this rubbery body that goes over the top, and then you put batteries in, and he actually walks and moves and makes sounds, I believe. It's been a long time since he had any batteries in him. I'm not sure if he still works. Again, he's a nice big figure that I picked up dirt cheap in Hong Kong, which will probably, again, set you back quite a bit today. We come on down to Space Godzilla, who's a fantastic design, another one of the Bandai figures. And coming down from here, we've got a Funko Pop of the Godzilla from Singular Point, the anime on Netflix. I try to get at least sort of one figure of each incarnation of Godzilla. Unfortunately, I don't have a Godzilla -1 figure at the moment. I've got my eye on a few on eBay. They're a little bit more than I want to pay. I'll probably have to bite the bullet at some point and pick one up. Then if we come down, this is Mothra from Trend Masters, I think it was. You press the button on the back and it used to make a noise that was sounded a bit like a sort of chittering noise that Mothra makes. Unfortunately, that has long stopped working. Next to her is Batra, sort of, I suppose, the evil Mothra. Exactly the same again. You press the button on the back and it would make a noise. And again, that was a figure from Trend Masters. And then if we just come over here, we've got a Bandai sort of old school Rodan figure, and next to him is the more modern sort of incarnation from the Legendary movies. And then over here, we've got another Bandai figure of Mothra in her sort of larvae form. Next to her is a Trendmasters Godzilla, again with a button that you press, and he used to make obviously the Godzilla roaring noise, screonk, as it's always put in the comic books. And next to him is Mechagodzilla, exactly the same. Trendmasters used to make a noise too. And then moving on, one of my favourite designs, a Bandai figure of Godzilla 2000 with the big pink spines on his back. Sort of similar to the evolved Godzilla that we've now got in Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. But yeah, always one of my favourite designs, the Godzilla Millennium design. Then over behind him, we've got King Ghidorah. Again, that's from the Legendary series. I think it's one of the Jack specific figures. Then behind Ghidorah, we've got a plush of Baby Godzilla. It's a sort of bit of a goofy looking chap. I think he's the chap that then sort of takes over and becomes Godzilla Jr. after the sort of the OG Godzilla is killed by Destroyer. I think that's correct. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. We've then got next to him a big old rip-off bootleg Godzilla. I think a friend got this for me. I think they were at some car boot sale and picked it up for about 50p because they knew that I was a fan. I know he's not official, but he's a big old hunk of plastic. So yeah, quite happy to have him in my collection. And behind him, we have got a big old Kong from Jack's Pacific. I am debating on repainting it. He's got quite a lot of detail in his face, which will probably be okay to repaint. Obviously, the rest of him is lacking a sort of much detail, but I reckon we can probably do some work on him. I'll probably do a video of him in the future. Then coming down, this was a pre-painted vinyl model kit. I think it was from Horizon. It's copyright dated. I think it's 1993. Yes, as I say, it was pre-painted, and you just basically sort of heated the parts up and pushed them together. I think I repainted, I think the eyes, the teeth, the mouth, the claws, I think they were all sort of painted silver for some reason. Yeah, so still painted silver, the spines down the back. I think I left them because they sort of looked like, I suppose, like they were glowing a bit. But yeah, I remember at the time that was actually a pretty cheap kit. A sort of, you know, a good way of getting a sort of quite a large Godzilla for not much money at all. Coming down is another Godzilla kit that I painted. This one I decided to paint like a burning Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Destroyer. I didn't actually have a burning Godzilla figure, so I decided to paint that one to look like that. Then coming across, this is Iris from the third Gamera movie from the 1990s, Revenge of Iris, or Incomplete Struggle, I think it's called. I hate to say it, but as a huge Godzilla fan, those three Gamera movies are actually better. Say the monsters are great, the effects are brilliant, there's some really good fight sequences. So yeah, give them a go if you haven't already. Next to him, we've got a legendary, I think that's a NECA figure from the legendary Godzilla. And above him, we have got a big figure as Bandai Monster X, I think from Godzilla Final Wars. Again, this I think was from funkyzilla.com. And again, was dirt cheap. You don't see a lot of these days. Then come down to a Bandai figure of Gigan. Another Bandai figure of just a straightforward Godzilla. I think that's sort of from sort of 1980s appearance. Then we've got a rather nice Bandai Mothra from her later appearances. And in here we've got, this is like a remote control Mecha Godzilla that moves along, or rather it should. I don't think it ever worked. I bought it. It was one of those things when eBay was first going, you know, absolutely years ago. I was sort of picking up things that you couldn't sort of get over here. I remember seeing this. It was pretty cheap, so I picked it up. I don't think it ever actually worked after I had it. I should probably give it a clean up, put some new batteries in it, see if I can get it going. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's never worked since I had it. Now, this chap, I can't remember. I think he's from Godzilla Final Wars, one of the bad guys. If anyone recognises him, let me know in the comments below. It'd be great. I can't actually say. Unfortunately, I can't remember which film he is from. I'm sure he's from Godzilla Final Wars, or possibly even Godzilla 2000s. What's one of those sort of films from around then. And down next to him, we've got a Bandai figure, old school, Anguirus, however you want to pronounce it. One of Godzilla's oldest foes, and then sort of friends. He's been going, I think, since the sequel to the original Godzilla. We've then got, this is Legion from the second, to say, of the Gamera trilogy. Legion appears in many forms, as his name suggests. They all club together and form a massive creature. And then next to him, we've got another wind-up, ropey old bootleg Godzilla. I think I must have picked up at a market store somewhere. I can't recall for the life of me where he come from. But yeah, obviously, yeah, he's not an official Toho product. Then we've got another pre-painted model kit, this time of Gamera, on this really nice sort of resin sculpted stand in his flying pose. And again, this was painted up really nicely, sort of all airbrushed, and it's got some nice detail on it. So this was one I just sort of cut the pieces out and put it together. So it's one of my favourites. I do like that flying Gamera. Then just behind him, you can see one of my all-time favourites, Jet Jaguar from Godzilla vs. Megalon, another Godzilla film that gets a lot of flack. It was in the era where they were making child-friendly Godzilla films, a bit more like Gamera. But I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourites. The fight at the end is great, where Godzilla and Jet Jaguar team up and fight Megalon and Gigan. If I just move this Gamera out the way, we can see finally as well. Then we can see we've just got a Bandai figure of Gamera there as well to finish things off. So there we go, my humble Godzilla toy collection. Not as impressive as some collectors around the world, but I'm pretty happy with what I've got. Are you a Godzilla collector? Let me know in the comments below what your favourite pieces are. Thanks for watching, and until next time, eat geek and be merry.